1943. A year that would be etched into the annals of history as one of the most tumultuous and transformative periods of the 20th century. The world was engulfed in the flames of World War II, a conflict that had spread its tendrils to nearly every corner of the globe, leaving devastation and despair in its wake. The relentless march of the Axis powers had plunged humanity into a desperate struggle for survival. Their forces, driven by a ruthless ambition, sought to dominate and subjugate entire nations. From the bomb-ravaged cities of Europe, where once thriving communities lay in ruins, to the scorching deserts of North Africa, where battles raged under the unforgiving sun, the conflict showed no signs of abating. The fate of nations hung in the balance, and the outcome of the war remained uncertain. Leaders and generals convened in secret meetings, strategizing and planning, knowing that a single misstep could spell disaster. Every battle, every strategic maneuver carried the weight of immense consequence. Maps were pored over, troop movements meticulously planned, and yet, the fog of war often rendered the best-laid plans futile. The Allies, locked in a life-or-death struggle with the Nazi war machine, knew that victory would demand unwavering resolve, unwavering courage, and a touch of ingenious deception. They were up against a formidable enemy, one that had already demonstrated its capacity for brutality and cunning. The year 1943 marked a pivotal turning point in the war. It was a year of significant battles and crucial decisions, a year when the tide began to turn in favor of the Allies. The tide was slowly beginning to turn in favor of the Allies, but the path to victory was fraught with peril. Each gain was hard-fought, and the cost in human lives was staggering. Every move, every decision could tip the scales of fate. The stakes were incredibly high, and the pressure on those making the decisions was immense. They had to weigh the potential outcomes of their actions with the lives of countless soldiers and civilians hanging in the balance. It was in this crucible of conflict that a daring and audacious plan was hatched. A plan so outlandish, so improbable, that it seemed destined to fail. Yet, it was precisely this boldness that gave it a chance to succeed. A plan that would come to be known as Operation Mincemeat. This operation involved a level of deception and creativity that was unprecedented, aiming to mislead the enemy and gain a strategic advantage. It was a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of those fighting for freedom. In the treacherous arena of warfare, truth often becomes the first casualty. Deception, the art of misleading the enemy, emerges as a potent weapon, capable of altering the course of battles and shaping the destinies of nations. The Allied forces, acutely aware of the need to outmaneuver their German adversaries, embraced deception as a vital tool in their arsenal. The Germans, renowned for their military prowess, posed a formidable challenge. Their intelligence network, the Abwehr, was highly skilled in deciphering Allied intentions and anticipating their moves. To outwit such a formidable foe, the Allies recognized the necessity of crafting elaborate ruses, of weaving intricate webs of disinformation. The need for deception was particularly acute in the Mediterranean theater of operations. The Allies, having secured victory in North Africa, were poised to launch an invasion of southern Europe. However, the Germans, anticipating an Allied offensive, had heavily fortified the island of Sicily, a strategic gateway to the Italian mainland. A direct assault on Sicily would result in a bloodbath, a costly and protracted battle that could cripple the Allied advance. In the shadowy world of espionage and covert operations, MI5, the British Security Service, reigned supreme. During the tumultuous years of World War II, the stakes were higher than ever, and the need for secrecy and cunning was paramount. MI5's operatives were the unseen guardians of the realm, working tirelessly behind the scenes to protect the nation from the ever-present threats of enemy spies and saboteurs. Tasked with safeguarding national security and countering enemy threats, MI5's operatives operated in a realm of secrets and shadows, their actions veiled in secrecy. These men and women were the unsung heroes of the war, their identities often unknown even to their closest allies. They moved through the streets of London and beyond, blending into the background, always watching, always listening. With a reputation for cunning and ingenuity, MI5 played a pivotal role in the Allied war effort. Their operations were not just about gathering intelligence, but also about shaping the very course of the war. Through a series of carefully orchestrated deceptions, they managed to mislead the enemy, turning the tide in favor of the Allies. Their work was a delicate dance of misinformation and strategic planning, requiring both brilliance and bravery. At the heart of MI5's covert operations lay a specialized unit known as Section B1A, a clandestine group responsible for deception and double-agent operations. This unit was the brainchild of some of the most innovative minds in British intelligence, and it quickly became the epicenter of wartime espionage. Section B1A was where the most daring and imaginative plans were hatched, plans that would go on to become legendary in the annals of espionage history. Staffed with brilliant and eccentric minds, individuals who possessed an uncanny ability to think several steps ahead of their adversaries, Section B1A became the breeding ground for some of the war's most audacious and successful deception plans. These operatives were not just spies, they were master strategists, capable of weaving intricate webs of deceit that left the enemy bewildered and off balance. Their work required a unique blend of creativity, intelligence, and nerves of steel. Among the brilliant minds populating the corridors of Section B1A was a young naval intelligence officer named Ewan Montague. Montague was a man of many talents, with a background in law and a keen interest in the intricacies of espionage. His sharp intellect and meticulous attention to detail made him an invaluable asset to the team. Montague's ability to think outside the box and his willingness to take risks set him apart from his peers. A barrister by training, Montague possessed a sharp intellect, a meticulous attention to detail, and a penchant for unconventional thinking. His legal background gave him a unique perspective on the art of deception, allowing him to craft elaborate ruses that were both convincing and effective. Montague's contributions to Section B1A were instrumental in the success of many of their operations. Working alongside him was Charles Cholmondeley, a flight lieutenant in the Royal Air Force, whose creativity and flair for the dramatic complemented Montague's analytical mind. Cholmondeley was a man of boundless imagination, always coming up with new and inventive ways to outwit the enemy. His theatrical approach to espionage added a new dimension to the team's efforts, making their deceptions even more convincing. Together, they formed an unlikely but highly effective partnership, their combined talents proving instrumental in the conception and execution of Operation Mincemeat. This operation was one of the most successful deception campaigns of the war, involving the planting of false information to mislead the Germans about the Allies' invasion plans. Montague and Cholmondeley's collaboration was a testament to the power of teamwork and the importance of thinking outside the box in the world of espionage. Their legacy lives on as a shining example of the ingenuity and bravery that defined MI5's efforts during World War II. Operation Mincemeat, a deception plan of unprecedented audacity, was born out of necessity and desperation. As the Allies faced the daunting task of invading Europe, they needed a strategy that would give them a crucial advantage over the Axis powers. The brainchild of Charles Cholmondeley, the plan centered around a simple, yet macabre premise: to plant false intelligence documents on a corpse, a courier deliberately placed in the hands of the Germans. Cholmondeley, along with Ewan Montague, meticulously crafted the details of this audacious plan, knowing that its success could change the course of the war. The goal was to mislead Hitler and his generals into believing that the Allied invasion of southern Europe would target Greece and Sardinia, diverting German troops away from the true objective Sicily. This deception was crucial, as the element of surprise was essential for the success of the invasion. Cholmondeley's plan, initially dismissed as outlandish and far-fetched, eventually found a receptive audience in the upper echelons of British intelligence. The idea of using a dead body to carry false documents seemed almost too bizarre to work, but it was this very improbability that made it so appealing. The audacity of the scheme, its sheer improbability, was precisely what made it so appealing. The British intelligence officers knew that the Germans, confident in their ability to decipher Allied intentions, would be less likely to suspect a ruse so audacious, so seemingly ridiculous. The Germans, confident in their ability to decipher Allied intentions, would be less likely to suspect a ruse so audacious, so seemingly ridiculous. The plan hinged on the belief that the Germans would take the bait, believing the false documents to be genuine and acting accordingly. The success of Operation Mincemeat hinged on meticulous planning and flawless execution. Every aspect of the operation had to be carefully thought out, from the creation of the false documents to the selection of the corpse that would carry them. Every detail, no matter how seemingly insignificant, had to be carefully considered and meticulously orchestrated. The false documents had to be convincing, containing just the right amount of information to mislead the Germans without arousing suspicion. The corpse itself, the linchpin of the entire operation, had to be convincing. A believable casualty of war carrying seemingly authentic documents of the highest classified importance. The body had to appear as though it had been lost at sea, washing ashore with the crucial documents intact. Finding the right corpse, one that fit the profile of their fabricated courier, would prove to be one of the most challenging aspects of the entire operation. The body had to be that of a man who could plausibly be an officer, someone whose death would not raise too many questions. After much searching, they found their man, and the stage was set for one of the most daring deceptions in military history. The corpse was dressed in a Royal Marines uniform, complete with personal effects to add authenticity. The false documents, carefully crafted to mislead the Germans, were placed in a briefcase attached to the body. Every detail was scrutinized to ensure that the ruse would be convincing. The body was then transported by submarine to the coast of Spain, where it was released into the sea. The hope was that it would be discovered by Spanish authorities, who would then pass the information on to the Germans. The success of Operation Mincemeat now rested on whether the Germans would take the bait. As the body was discovered, and the documents made their way to German hands, the tension among the British intelligence officers was palpable. Would the Germans believe the ruse? Would they divert their troops as hoped? The fate of the Allied invasion hung in the balance. In the end, Operation Mincemeat was a resounding success. The Germans took the bait, diverting their troops to Greece and Sardinia, leaving Sicily less defended. The Allied invasion of Sicily proceeded with far less resistance than anticipated, marking a turning point in the war. The audacious plan born out of desperation had achieved its goal, demonstrating the power of deception in warfare.